Pies. I am Lanikia, and you are watching What Happened on the Soaps. This is Days of Our Lives edition. Today is Friday, yay! November the 24th, 2023. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this one a solid 8. I enjoyed the ending of this episode. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. We see Ava is listening to Harris's voicemail. Now he's just checking on her to make sure she's okay. And also he's asking, hey, have you seen my keys? I was looking for them and I've seemed to have misplaced them. And as we know, Ava lifted those keys because she needed a key to the evidence room, right? So at this point, she's about to call Harris back when Stefan knocks at her door. And so when Stefan knocks at her door, she's like, what you doing here? What you want? What's going on? And he tells her, I'm here to do this any more than she wants to be bothered. And he was like, I'm going to be running the drug front. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, Ava, listen, I know Clyde strong armed you about your son. He's doing the same with me with Gabby being in Statesville. I don't want to do this any more than you do. So he's going to take Gil's place. He told her it's unfortunate for her, for him that she actually killed Gil because now he has to do his dirty work. And she was like, oh, wow. So they're both reluctant partners, or participants in this whole thing. Neither one of them wants to do it. And he says, so we need to talk about the evidence room keys. And she says, I got them. And so she gives them to him. He says, I'm going to make a copy of them and then you're going to figure out a way to get them back. He said, but the major thing is figuring out how to get into the evidence room. And she said, okay. So at this point, we go back to Harris and we see Harris is talking to Leo. And so when he talks to Leo, Leo is like, when am I going to get out of here? And he said, you're accused of murder. He said, whose murder? He said, EJ's son. And Leo was like, Johnny's dead? And he said, no, his Nicole's baby. And he's like, what are you talking about? That baby was alive and well, Mila. Oh. He said that baby was alive and well. Dimitri was supposed to get him to the hospital. He said, well, I don't know what took so long for Dimitri to get him to the hospital, but that baby is not alive. You know, the baby had some internal injuries and the baby died. And he's like, oh my gosh. And so, of course, he says, I need to talk to my lawyer and everything. So Harris leaves him right there. And then we see that Harris goes over to speak to Ava. Now, he just happens to come over as Stefan was leaving. And so Harris is like, what's going on here? And Stefan said he was there to talk to Wendy and Trip to let them know what they saw isn't what they saw with Gabby holding a knife. He said that's witness tampering. And Stefan said, look, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do whatever I need to do in order to help Gabby and become a free woman for this crime that she did not commit. He was like, if only you guys would do your part, Gabby would not be in prison right in Statesville right now. And you know, they told him like, your brother's the DA. Why don't you get him to help? He said, he's not going to help because, you know, he got on his bad side. That's what Stefan had told Ava earlier. And so anyways, Stefan just said, that's why I was here. And he said, I'm telling you also, Harris, Gabby is innocent. And y'all need to be out there trying to find the real killer. So there's that. Then we go over here and Harris actually talks to Ava and he tells her he still can't. Stefan leaves, right? So Harris talks to Ava and he said he still can't find the department keys, but he's sure they're going to come up. She thanks him for all of the support he's giving her. He says, is it hard to be in this apartment after what went down with Gil? She tells him a little bit, but it was better sleeping in her own bed than having to stay at the station in the jail cell. He says, okay, he can figure that. But anyways, he ends up having to leave, and Ava just again thanks him for all. You know, she's grateful. She wished they could spend Thanksgiving together, but she understands. He said, yes, as the new guy, I have to pay my dues. And so I don't get the holidays. And she says she understands that. So they kiss and he ends up leaving, right? So then Stefan comes back and he gives her the keys and she says, now I got to figure out a way to get these back to Harris. And And she tells him, if I find out a way to get from under Clyde, I'll definitely let you know. And he vice versa, because neither one of them wants to do work for Clyde, but they do not have a choice. So then we go over here and we see Dimitri and Harris again. And so Dimitri, excuse me, Leo and Harris again. And Harris is like, were you able to get in touch with your lawyer? And he said, oh, well, she was busy. So I didn't really get to talk to her the way I wanted to, right? Because when Leo called Sloan, he told her what was going on, and she said, I'm going to help you." But then she got a knock at the door and everything, and she was like, I have to go. Like, now isn't a good time, so she rushed him off the phone. So, but he tells Harris, like, at the end of the day, I bonded with that little guy when I got to hold him. He was a cutie. He might have been a little wrinkled or whatever, but after a few moments, he straightened out and he was a cutie. And he said, I would never wish anything, and there was nothing wrong with him. I would never wish anything on that baby. Um, he said a lot, and Harris was like, "Are you trying to tell me you have a heart?" He said, "A lot of people think, I just crack funny jokes and I'm not serious about anything, and I'm selfish." He said, "But with that little boy, I bonded, and so I'm devastated that he passed. I don't know what happened, but." At the end of the day, Leo's looking like he's going to prison. So then we go over here to Nicole. Nicole. We go over here to Sloan and Eric. Hold on. So then we go over here to Sloan and Eric, and she is um got off the phone with she's got off the phone with Melinda, because Melinda was just telling her, Sloan, stop worrying. Everything is going to work out. I'm about to bring the baby over. Everything is going to be fine. Stop worrying. Stop feeling guilty. Like, you got to stop this. And I'm like, at this point, Sloan, you're deep in it. Let all this guilt go. You got this baby now. And so Eric, he's getting the apartment ready and he's nervous, and they're both, you know, nervous about everything that's going on. But he says he's so excited for the baby, he wish he could tell the world. And she said, why can't you? He said, well, with Nicole's tragedy. And she was like, but that doesn't have anything to do. I understand what Sloan's saying. Like, if they really had adopted a baby, Nicole's tragedy doesn't really have to do anything with them. But Eric does still have feelings for Nicole, so he wants to be sensitive. He still cares about her, so he wants to be sensitive to that. So then we see that Sloan and Eric get a knock at the door, and of course it is Melinda, and she has brought the baby over, and of course they're ecstatic about it. The baby wasn't crying, but she hands the baby over to the Sloan, and the baby starts crying. But Eric just tells Melinda, "Thank you so much. You made us parents," and he's grateful to her, and so she ends up leaving, right? So that leaves Sloan and Eric. So the baby is crying because the baby can tell Sloan, I don't like your spirit. But he wasn't crying with Melinda like that, so I don't know. Even though Melinda said he did cry some, but a lot of times we saw her holding the baby and he was not crying, so he just don't like Sloan's spirit. He's like, "Girl, I know you're not my mama." And so, anyways, Eric, she hands the baby over to Eric, and the baby stops crying immediately. And she was like, "What if I'm not good for this?" And he said, "No, you're gonna be great, and the baby's gonna have to be learn to be patient with both of us." But he's so happy to have the baby. He's like, "All right, let's go for a stroll." And she said, "What now?" He was like, "Yeah, I want to go for a stroll," because he wants to show off his baby. I said, "Now, Eric, you just got the baby. Like, you can't stay a day or two in the house and let everybody come over to you." He said, somebody got to see my baby." I said, "All right then." So he's like, "Let's go," and Sloan makes an excuse because the baby, she tried to hold the baby kid and he cried with her again. So she makes an excuse, like, "We have stuff being delivered." And she has a lot going on, so maybe he can go and she'll catch up with them later. And he was like, "Okay, cool." So then Sloan is fretting, but when Eric leaves, Sloan is fretting like, "Oh my gosh, the baby can probably tell that Eric's the real dad and I'm not." And then Melinda texted her and she was like, "Listen, Sloan, chill out. Everything is gonna work out." And Sloan was like, "Melinda said everything." And who is it? Dimitri. I said, "Ooh, he didn't leave, girl. Uh-oh." And so he's like, "I'm back." I said, "Oh, this is not a good look." So then we see Melinda is at the hotel and she trying to pack up, right? But before all that, the doctor came by because he was in there talking to Nicole and EJ, and Nicole and EJ told the doctor. Of course, they're devastated, and she said she can go home. Nicole can now go home, and she needs to she wants to apologize to Holly for snapping at her. And EJ tells her, I'm sure Holly will understand, but she said, yeah, but it wasn't nice of me, and so I want to apologize to her. And she tells him, I want to see my baby. When the doctor comes in, she tells him, "I want to see the baby," and he was like, "Nicole, I don't know." And he tried to get EJ to side with him, but EJ said, "Go get us our baby." And so the doctor was like, "Okay." So that's when he goes over to Melinda, and he's like, "I told you they was gonna want to see the baby," and she was like, "What?" He said, "I tried to talk them out to it, but they want to see the baby." I said, all y'all gonna do is say the baby was cremated, and lo and behold, Melinda told the doctor, "I got this. You're not gonna have to show them the baby. Just let me handle it." So the next thing you know, the doctor goes back over to Nicole and EJ, and he says, "Unfortunately, your baby was cremated by mistake." And they said, "What?" Baby Nicole almost came unglued. She said, "I could kill you." And then he was like, "I'm sorry." And he just said, "How did this happen?" He said, "I wasn't there." And they, normally the baby's body goes right to the funeral home, but someone mistakenly labeled it as cremation, and so that's what happened. I said, well, that wasn't hard to figure out. So you know EJ said, "I'll deal with you later," or whatever, and then he leaves. And so the doctor then goes back to Melinda, and he said he was like, "It was devastating to watch, but I did it." And she said, "Good, because you're knee deep in this too." And so then he tells her, this is horrible what y'all did to that woman. And she says, "I was helping a friend, and it just got out of hand, but it's over now." And so he tells her that he gonna need some more money. And she said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yes, ma'am. I need more money for what I've just done for y'all, putting my license on the line and devastating this woman. I didn't know y'all was gonna have me do all this, so I need some more money." And so she gives him more money, I guess whatever she had, and told him, "I don't want to see you again." He said, "I don't want to see you again." So they leave it at that, right? And so then we see that Nicole and EJ are devastated, and he's like, "I'm gonna find out who did this at the hospital." And she tells him, "No, don't you don't have to do that at all." That she's going to she really just wanted to see the baby again, to see him smile, to hear him cry, and all of that. So just to hold the baby and see the baby was alive, but nobody can bring that back to her. And she's sorry that EJ never got to meet their son. And they're both devastated, but she gets dressed. She's dressed now, and so they leave the hospital, and they're going to the pub because she said she wanted some sliders. She was like, "I was craving them when I was pregnant, so maybe eating them can make me feel close to the baby." And she said, "But I don't know if I can do this." So EJ tells her, "Wait outside, wait out here. I'll go in and get them, and then we can just go home." And she said, "Okay." So while she's waiting, Eric comes up, because you remember he wanted to take this baby on this stroll so bad. So Eric comes up, and Nicole sees him, and she was like, "Eric, you got your baby already?" He said, "Yeah, Melinda got them their child." And she said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I wanted to let him meet my dad." And he was like, "But I should get him inside because he doesn't want, Nicole's outside and he doesn't want to prolong this." And she said, "Do you mind if I hold him?" I said, "Oh, Lord." And that is it, y'all. That was Days of Our Lives for this Good Friday. It is Friday. Be safe, be blessed. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. It's actually getting a little warmer in Texas, but it's a beautiful day right now. It is beautiful outside. So I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. And I will see you on Monday for all new episodes of What Happened on the Soaps, Days of Our Lives edition. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.